Uncle Roger says that fried rice is all about three things:
egg, fry, and rice.
Well, today I'm going to be putting a southern twist on this Asian classic. I'm going to be making some pulled pork barbecue fried rice. I'm also going to be making two other dishes. I'm going to be making a 2-day Tonkatsu Ramen, as well as some Nashville hot chicken sushi. Will I get a
Hiya
or a
Fuyo?
Now let's find out. First, we're going to start by preparing our rice. Always use leftover rice for the best texture. I made this the day before, ensuring that there's enough for both our fried rice and for our sushi. We're gonna go ahead and strain this out just a little bit, and we're gonna repeat that process 2 more times. Your water's never gonna be perfectly clear, but we wanna make sure we get as much starch as possible off. And then once we're done, we're gonna put this in a strainer to strain off as much water as we can. And then we're gonna put it into our rice cooker and put 2 cups of water and set it on the basic rice timer, and then let it cook until it's done. Now for our sushi rice, we're gonna go ahead and add about a 1/4 cup of this sushi seasoning. I picked this up at one of the local Asian stores, but I'm sure you can also buy this online, or if you have a store that you can go to and get this, you can go ahead and get it there. But like I said, 1/4 cup, we're gonna mix this in thoroughly. What this is going to do is this is gonna make our rice to where it's sticky, so that way it can hold. But you'll know whenever it's mixed, whenever you see that each grain of rice has a little bit of a gloss to it. So once you have this thoroughly mixed, we're gonna go ahead and set it aside for an hour to let it come down in temperature, so that way it's easier to hold whenever we're forming our sushi. Next, we're gonna take the pork butt and then we're gonna cut it in half. 1/2 is gonna go into a vacuum sealed bag with some Gochujang chili, some soy sauce for salt, and our secret ingredient, OSG.
Fuyo!
Then we're gonna vacuum seal it. Then we're gonna sous vide it for 48 hours at 155 degrees. Once it's done, we're gonna refrigerate it to make it easier to slice later. For the other half, we're gonna season it generously, and since I don't have my smoker, we're gonna be baking it in the oven at 275 degrees until the center reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it in foil. This is gonna make sure that it gets nice and tender, and we're gonna let this cook until it hits 205 degrees Fahrenheit. After it's done, we're gonna place our barbecue inside of a bowl, and with a meat smasher, we're gonna shred this meat as best as we can, and then we're gonna set it aside for the fried rice. Now for the ramen, we're gonna start by making a dashi. We're gonna combine some dried shiitake mushrooms, some dried seaweed, and a little bit of dashi powder in a container. Add boiling water and let it sit for a couple of hours to rehydrate. Strain the mixture, and then we're gonna use the mushrooms for a topping on our ramen. So we're gonna go ahead and slice these up nice and thin. This is gonna add so much more flavor. The dashi adds so much umami inside of the ramen. Next, we're gonna bring a water to boil and we're gonna cook some eggs for 11 minutes. Then once they're done, we're gonna transfer them to an ice bath to stop the cooking. Once they've gotten cool to the touch, we're gonna peel them and we're gonna set them aside for plating. Now for the broth, I'm using a tonkatsu concentrate that I found at an Asian market, and it's super simple. We're just gonna boil some water, add the concentrate per the instructions on the bottle, and then it's ready. Now for the noodles, I also found this at that same Asian market and I thought they were really interesting to look at. So we're just going to follow the instructions on the package, and then we're going to transfer them to an ice bath to stop the cooking process. And then finally, before plating, we're going to slice the sous vide pork butt into thin pieces. I cut the pieces to about 1/8 inch thick. To assemble, we're going to place the noodles in a bowl, and then we're going to go ahead and add our pork, cut the egg in half and place it on top. Add the mushrooms and then finish with the broth. Ramen complete. Now for the Nashville hot sushi, we're gonna season our chicken thighs, and we're gonna season them with some salt, cayenne pepper, crushed red pepper, chili powder, and some Italian seasoning. And then we're gonna give these a nice mix, and then after they're done mixing, we're gonna sear them in a hot pan until they are fully cooked. After about 10 minutes of letting them rest, we're gonna slice them very thinly so that way they go nice into our roll. And of course, you cannot have hot chicken without some pickles. We're gonna go ahead and slice these up nice and thin. Once we have our ingredients ready, lay out the rice and flatten it into a rectangle. Add the chicken and roll it tightly. Then we're gonna coat the entire roll into some flour. Next, we're gonna go ahead and dip this in an egg bath, and then we're gonna coat it in flour again. Now we're gonna fry this into a pan until it gets nice and golden brown, and then in a bowl, you're gonna mix that hot oil with the seasonings that we used to season the chicken. Then we're gonna mix it very well and spoon it over the roll. Slice into some beautiful pieces and the sushi is ready. And now for the barbecue fried rice. Heat the oil in a pan and scramble a few eggs, setting them aside once they're done. Then we're gonna add some sesame oil, and then we're gonna fry the rice until it gets a little bit crispy on the outside. Once it has some nice color to it, we're gonna add our scrambled eggs and our shredded pork, and then add some soy sauce to the sides and mix around until everything is nice and combined. Now for the presentation, we're gonna pack this rice into a bowl, then flip it on a plate, twist and lift, and then on the top, we're gonna drizzle this with some Kewpie Mayonnaise and the barbecue sauce. Will this southern-inspired feast get a
Hiya.
or a?
Wee-oh.
Let's dig in and find out.
All right, guys, it's time for our taste test. We're gonna see if it's worth it to piss off Uncle Roger. We have our food innovations here. We have our Nashville hot fried sushi, our 2-day Tonkatsu Ramen, and the star of the show, the barbecue fried rice. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the hot chicken fried rice. So see if we can get a piece without it falling apart completely. Definitely got the spice going for it. The pickle really cuts down on the fat from the oil whenever we're frying it. The chicken, flavored really good, has a lot of spice in the chicken as well as the coating on the outside. I don't know if I'd recommend it just because it was a hassle. You can see that everything was kind of falling apart here, but overall I'd say it was very good. Now for our ramen, first we're gonna go ahead and try some of the noodles. Very flavorful. The noodles have a nice bite to it, which I am very happy for. I've never had this type of noodle before. Whenever I found this at the Asian shop, there was just an ample amount of selection, and I kind of just grabbed the one that I thought would be the best, and that one's not too bad. I want to get a bite of the tonkatsu. The outside is very flavorful. You can definitely taste the spice, the MSG. The inside, it's not seasoned very well, and that's because it's a thick cut of meat. So it's kind of hard to get those flavors to really sink into that meat. But overall, meat's very good. And finally, to taste the broth. So I would say that the soup base was really good. I would say the dashi that we made came in clutch. I can taste that more than the actual broth itself. So whenever you're making this, the dashi is really, really key to making the ramen. And now for the star. So this is really, really good. The mayonnaise is super, super rich. It complements with the fattiness of the pork, and that barbecue sauce helps cut through that fat as well. The soy sauce, it's not overpowering. I was a little worried whenever I was mixing the soy sauce with the barbecue flavors, but in the end, I definitely would say that this is worth it. All right, guys, do you think that I earned the title of Uncle Saucy, or do you think that this was complete blasphemy? Let me know down in the comment section below. Until then, stay saucy.